New Jeffrey Epstein information is uniting and dividing members of Congress. President Trump orders a boat carrying drugs to America blown out of the water by the military. President Putin continues to lie to President Trump, and Trump seems to be losing his grip on ending the Russia-Ukraine war. Plus, more details out about how Pfizer and Dr. Fauci lied to President Trump. And I can tell you from sources, he is not happy. Thank you guys so much for liking and sharing these videos. There's a lot to get through, so let's jump right into the news. Yesterday, President Trump announced that the U.S. military conducted a precision strike on a vessel in international waters. The operation targeted a boat carrying illegal narcotics from Venezuela, operated by Tren de Aragua gang members seeking to bring drugs to the United States. Trump stated that the strike killed 11 individuals, narco-terrorists, bringing drugs towards the United States. The attack was part of an escalation where the U.S. military is down in the South Caribbean, keeping an eye on Maduro and trying to block drug traffickers. Now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed the strike, noting it targeted a vessel that had departed from Venezuela, carrying cocaine, fentanyl, and other drugs, likely headed to Trinidad and then up to Florida or other parts of the southern United States. President Trump shared a video about this, and Venezuela is saying it wasn't our boat, that this was AI. But then now they're saying, how dare you blow up one of our boats? This could be considered an act of war. However, Venezuela does not want to go to war with the United States. Also, there's a $50 million bounty on the head of Nicolás Maduro, the president of Venezuela, that the United States does not officially recognize as president. Now, let me bring this up and I will show you what President Trump had to say and then tell you about this. Now, early this morning, he says, on my order, the U.S. military forces conducted a kinetic strike against positively identified Tren de Aragua narco-terrorists in the Southcom area of responsibility. Tren de Aragua is designated a foreign terrorist organization operating under the control of Nicolás Maduro, responsible for mass murder, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, and acts of violence and terror across the United States and Western Hemisphere. The strike occurred while the terrorists were at sea in international water, transporting illegal narcotics heading to the United States. The strike resulted in 11 terrorists killed in action. No U.S. forces were harmed in this strike. Please let this serve as notice to anybody even thinking about bringing drugs to the United States. Beware. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So President Trump is not messing around. He has said that he wants the death penalty for drug dealers. He has said that he does not want America's streets full of drugs. He doesn't want them in schools. He doesn't want them on the street. Now, Democrats are going absolutely bonkers. And you can see here, I'll just read some of them. Drug trafficking is a crime, not an act of war. Traffickers must be arrested, not summarily executed, which U.S. forces just illegally did. All I can say is that I hope Trump is using actual evidence that these are actual drug traffickers and gang members in Venezuela, unlike what he did with the 280 immigrants who he sent to Setcop prison for being gang members without any legitimate evidence in many cases. They also said, why didn't the Coast Guard board them and arrest them? Why didn't we just interdict the vessel in U.S. waters and arrest the crew? Let the Coast Guard do their routine duty. So they're now saying that Trump is a war criminal and that he was wrong to do this. Isn't that amazing? Anytime he does something, he says we need to lock up criminals, they defend criminals. He says we need to get rid of illegals, they want to get rid of, or they want to keep illegals. He says we got to keep drugs out of the country, they want to allow them into the country. So whatever he does, they just say that he's doing a bad job. Let me know in the comments what you think. Now, Nicolás Maduro is saying, hey, wait a minute. We're going to go to war with you. And Trump is saying, don't you even dare. So this could be escalating, and I'll continue to keep you updated. All right, now turning to Jeffrey Epstein, the House Oversight Committee has released 33,000 pages of Jeffrey Epstein-related documents from the Department of Justice, providing the most detailed look yet at the trafficking that this late financier did. Of course, he's now dead, but they are uploading it and making it digital so the internet sleuths can crawl through the information, AI can crawl through the information, and let us know what it finds. Now, earlier today, Congressman Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie held a press conference where several Epstein victims were allowed to gather and share information. I'm going to go ahead and play one of those now so that you can hear what was said from this Epstein victim.
Boy, Jeffrey, but he told me that if I wanted to succeed as a Ford model, he could make it happen. And he was right. He introduced me to Katie Ford and many others in the entertainment business. His grip on the modeling business was undeniable. Not just the Ford family, but Victoria's Secret, Faith Cates, Jean-Luc Brunel, Victoria's Secret. Epstein's reach went to the very top of fashion. He could make a model's career. What I didn't realize then was that once he lured someone like me in, he could also destroy my career if I did not do what he wanted me to do. In New York City, countless young women were abused by him. Everyone in the industry knew, yet he was too powerful to stop. He had friends in all over entertainment and arts, and his value to those friends made him untouchable. But I ask you, why? Who was he to our government that he was allowed to operate openly for decades? Why was he allowed to sponsor visas for young models, using their immigration status as leverage to abuse them and silence them? Epstein was not just a serial predator. He was an international human trafficker. And many around him knew this. Many participated and many profited. And yet he was protected. I know what it's like to be trafficked to others. And I know that the files contain the names of powerful men who have been shielded because of their fame or their fortune. So I stand here today, not just for myself, but for every woman who has been silenced, exploited, and dismissed.
Okay, so another person came forward and said that she was trafficked on the same plane heading to Africa as former President Bill Clinton and many other people. She also remembers clearly who the other men were in Africa, and that she is preparing with her lawyers to release those names. Now, this other victim that you just heard from, she went on to say that if the government doesn't come forward and start telling the truth, that she and others are going to do that for them. Let's go ahead and listen to this part of her message.
Transparency is justice. Release the files, end the secrecy, and stand with us in declaring that no one, no billionaires, no politicians, not world leaders, is above the law. And let me announce now, several of us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list of names. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now, together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors. No one else is involved. Stay tuned for more details on that. Because history is watching, and so are the women who will come after us. Thank you.
All right. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are we about to get the names of the wealthy, the political, the entertainment space, the richest people in America? Are we going to get those names? These women say if the government doesn't do it, that they will do it. Now, honestly, I hate to even say this, but She could have just put a target on her own back. And I hate to say that, but not long ago, I reported about one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims being killed. They say it was a suicide. They say the other lady was a suicide. Many people connected to the Clintons suddenly decided to unalive themselves. So it does make me a little bit nervous. Now, this same group of victims that came forward, they were asked in a private interview if President Trump was ever involved. Let's go ahead and listen to that.
I do have to ask, and I know, and it's just something that I think we're compelled to at this moment, with the attention on President Trump, with these questions around a pardon. Did anybody see or hear of the president himself doing anything inappropriate as it related to Jeffrey Epstein?
No.
No. Okay, so they went around the room saying no, 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 no. So not one of them saw anything with President Trump, no crimes, no inappropriate behavior. So I've noticed there's a different energy with the Epstein situation with Congress back from break. They're not trying to connect Donald Trump anymore. They see that that is a waste of time. So now they're trying to find out who the names are so that they can shame and humiliate that person. I will continue to keep you in the loop on that situation as well. All right. Now, yesterday, I told you how President Trump is very angry because he's just now learning that Pfizer has been lying to him about the success of Operation Warp Speed. Remember when he used to brag about Operation Warp Speed, how it was the right thing to do, how he pulled strings to make this happen, that he saved millions of lives? Well, now he is furious. He is finding out that he has been lied to. Now, I'm not gonna read this to you because I already did that yesterday, but he's mad. He is saying, you need to justify, because I am hearing and seeing and reading things. I've got people coming forward to me, and I want the truth. This is how RFK Jr. got dragged into the vaccine war, where they've been lying and manipulating the American people for decades. Now Trump is saying, I want to know what the heck is going on. And I found this interview with Peter Navarro where he opens up about the lies to President Trump. Listen to what Peter Navarro had to say about Pfizer and Fauci lying to President Trump.
Fauci, when he was sitting there, that SOB knew for a fact that virus came from the Wuhan lab. He knew that because he had funded the gain-of-function research in that lab, and he had already begun to design a cover-up. And we know that from the emails he sent to a group of researchers, academics, trying to get their support to push that come from nature theory. And that's the biggest lie of omission in American history, because if he had simply owned up to the fact that that thing came from the lab, we could have pressured the Chinese to give us the genome sequence, which would have allowed us to design an effective vaccine rather than the crap we wound up getting. And again, Trump got lied to about that, not just by Fauci, but by Pfizer, the drug company.
In what way?
They didn't disclose the side effects of that. And they weren't clear with him. They made him think that it was a true vaccine when it's not. It's mRNA technology. And, you know, I worked with a guy named Dr. Robert Malone. You have him on the show sometime.
We had him.
Yeah. It's like the way, I mean, Malone was out there beforehand, but I had him on Steve Bannon's War Room when I was guest host, and he sat kind of like you and me are sitting, Patrick. And we talked about all this and wound up writing a 3-part series in the Washington Times about how the universal vax policy would basically spawn mutations that would be more lethal. Oh, you don't have to get too much into that. But my point is that day, that January 28th day, was a very significant one overlooked in the history of the pandemic and in American history.
All right. So this is one of Trump's top advisors coming forward saying, we now know for a fact that Fauci funded this and began the cover up early on. And then Pfizer lied to the president of the United States. Why? Because there were billions and billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars on the line with guaranteed clients paid for by the American government. So now Trump is just now finding all of this out almost 5 years later. It's insane that we're just now getting to this point. But I wanted to bring this to your attention because it's a really, really big deal. All right, now I love President Trump and I'm grateful that he won. But Congress continues to bury us in debt with reckless spending. They're just now back in office. And you watch, they're going to pass a continuing resolution, kick the can down the road, and spend us into oblivion. Bank failures, exploding debt, the BRICS nations attacking the US dollar, inflation eating away at your paycheck. It's all converging, and the US dollar is buckling under the pressure. Our currency faces threats from every angle, from Russia to China to the BRICS nations and other foreign powers. But it's Congress. Congress is the biggest enemy of the American people. And honestly, I wish it wasn't this way. I don't want it to be this way, right? But this is one of the reasons that I have protected myself with gold and silver. And you can protect yourself and your future as well. Don't let Washington's failure become your tragedy. I want you to visit StephenLovesGold.com or call 800-608-1770 and move your wealth into safe haven assets before it's too late. Gold and silver are the very best. Go ahead and give them a call today. All right, I want to switch to international news. President Trump took to Truth Social with a sarcastic message aimed at Chinese President Xi Jinping, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, accusing the three of conspiring to overthrow the United States of America. President Trump went to Truth Social where he talked about this, and I'll just go ahead and pull this up and read it to you. The big question to be answered is whether or not President Xi of China will mention the massive amount of support and blood that the United States of America gave to China in order to help it secure its freedom from a very unfriendly foreign invader. Many Americans died in China's quest for victory and glory. I hope that they are rightfully honored and remembered for their bravery and sacrifice. May President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great and lasting day of celebration. Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America. President Donald J. Trump. So he is worried that they are meeting to discuss overthrowing the US dollar, how to keep the Russia-Ukraine war going. Now, according to Xi Jinping, they were just gathering to celebrate the end of World War II, where China was able to throw off the authoritarian control of Japan. Xi and Putin met, and they watched a massive military parade and demonstration of China's weapons. Now, I don't know whether they are ganging up or not, and President Trump earlier today kind of joked that he was being facetious, but I don't know. I don't really trust either of those men. The Trump administration is now pressuring Europe to stop buying Russian oil. He's saying, what is the point of these sanctions if you guys just do these backdoor deals in order to buy oil from Russia? This keeps the war going where they're losing 7,000 people a week. Now, Alex Jones had Colonel McGregor on, and they opened up about this, and I thought it was a good clip. So let me go ahead and show this to you now, and then we'll react to it.
Big was this China meeting with Putin, Modi, Xi Jinping and others. They've demonstrated the most high-powered lasers that just vaporize aircraft, huge drone demonstrations, laughing at Trump's threats to stop BRICS. What happened?
The people at that meeting, including Modi, represent more than 40% of the global population, including its energy, minerals, and industry. They are essentially saying that they will not be bullied or debanked by the United States. Their central banks are cutting U.S. treasuries. They are buying gold, and they are hedging against Washington's chaos. The bottom line is that Trump's bullying tactics have failed. This entire tariff business has been a catastrophe. For instance, right now, India is slapped with 50% tariffs because they buy Russian oil, which they have to, and they're not going to stop. The Taliban in Afghanistan pays 15%, Pakistan 19%. Those are the two countries that have been breeding grounds for Islamist terrorists that have killed Americans in many, many places in the world, not exclusively in the Middle East or in Afghanistan. India has never been our enemy. India may not be a true ally, but it is certainly not our enemy. And right now, as a result of these tariffs, the Indians have canceled $35 billion in jets ordered from Boeing. That means that 150,000 machinists and line workers in Charleston, South Carolina, and Everett, Washington, are at risk of losing their jobs potentially. This is just stupid. We need to understand these are civilizational states. We need to treat them as equals, not as inferiors.
So where do you predict this goes?
I predict the whole tariff thing is going to bring us down. We're going to watch the bonds spike. That's already begun. When the 10-year bond hits 5%, we've had it because we can't service the debt. Remember, we have a $9 trillion bill coming due at the end of this year. We're not going to be able to pay it. We have to restructure the debt. But you're not going to restructure the debt with the people that own a large part of it overseas if you treat them as the enemy. And frankly speaking, China is the one where we needed to sit down and come up with a new approach. We still do. It's not the rest of the world. That's our biggest trade deficit. But instead of doing that, we just went to war with everybody all over the world. It's a catastrophe.
Well, I understand we had one-sided trade deals and we've had some success, but the Ukraine war drove Russia into China's arms. I hope you're wrong on that front because we're in dire economic straits if this doesn't pull off for Trump.
Well, I hope it doesn't, but unfortunately, I'm rather convinced it will. And, I'm not by any stretch of the imagination the Lone Ranger out there. You can bring on Peter Schiff or James Ricards or Luke Groman or Jeffrey Gundlach or Nassim Taleb. All of these people will tell you the same thing. We're in an impossible position right now. So we've needed to cut spending for a long time, and we haven't done it. So now it's going to be imposed on us if we're going to survive at all.
All right. So I always like what the colonel has to say. I will correct one thing. He said 36 billion canceled, 150,000 jobs are on the line. I disagree with that. It's actually closer to 3 billion. And with the $250 billion of planes that are picked up in the Middle East, Boeing can't get to that $3 billion anyway. So nobody's going to be losing their jobs. But this is why I was saying earlier that Congress is the biggest threat to America and the future of America. Their reckless spending is out of control. Trump is doing what he can, but now they're trying to block his tariffs. We might owe that money back. I've got some people coming on tomorrow to help better understand all of that. It's absolutely wild. All right, let me know in the comments what you guys think about all of this. I don't know if this Russia-Ukraine war is going to come to an end. I believe Trump is genuine when he says that he wants it to. Also, let me know your thoughts on what is being said about Jeffrey Epstein from these victims. If Congress won't do it, we'll do it ourselves. I would love to see those names. All right, I love you guys. If you could, give this video a like, hit that subscribe button. Also, do not leave YouTube without watching this video. Very important. Thanks so much. I'll see you on the next one.